I'm Diane Hagnai. I'm from the Sturdy Office in Undergraduate Studies. This is Julie Phelps with the Educational Technology Office, and we are hosting this faculty learning community today about the surprising uses of PowerPoint to increase student engagement. And so we do have to be out of this room before 1 because there is another class coming in here, so we're going to go ahead. And Dr. Woelk, are you finished eating your pie?
No,
we're going to
it's
go
not.
ahead. Let him take one more bite. Dr. Woelk, as many of you know, is the interim chair of the chemistry department, and he's also very active in course redesign for Chem 1 that's ongoing this semester. They're doing the pilot right now. And he's also kind of an expert in PowerPoint, hidden uses of PowerPoint. So we're going to let him take over and show us how to do it.
Would you be able to do this? You don't know how to do this? What do you think why I put this up? Well, just to catch your attention. And obviously it worked because it's... so PowerPoint, just to begin with, when I started teaching, we used transparencies. Remember what that is? This film thing where you, transparencies had a big advantage over what my dad used when he did presentations. He did actual slides. We still call them slides, but he had actually a technician who prepared them for him after he wrote everything down, and there were perfectly looking slides, but you had to be ready way ahead of time so they could be produced. And once you had determined the order, you could not change anything during your lecture. And often it would be like ka-ching, 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 go through when you want to skip something. Transparencies were great because nobody would see when you skip one or pick one up later and put it back on. When I gave a lecture afterwards, the entire table would be full of these transparencies. And it would take me a while to reorder them. But the student experience was great. We lost that with PowerPoint. We're back to the slide system. One slide after another. And I think that's a problem. So, let me just ask you a couple questions because you came here for the pie and hopefully to learn something about PowerPoint. So, here's my first slide. All people say, let's start with the first slide. Nobody says, let's start with the second slide. Okay. Why do you like PowerPoint? Why do you use it? Are you sure?
Some do.
Some do. Well, that's my next slide, asking you what students like. But what do you like?
You get to engage with the students and don't spend all the time writing on the board.
Okay. I just, what I've done here, and I need to speed up a little, is I can correlate your answers to something that is hidden underneath here. For example, this one. Or they're easy to generate, modify, improve. Something else. Keeps you on track. Okay.
You can bring in information from the internet really easily.
Okay.
YouTube videos.
Diagrams and graphs are certainly more appealing. Yeah, here's another one. Pictures, animations, video may be included. I can do this totally interactively. I can react to what you tell me. Yeah, this would be another reason. I don't even have to open all the fields. I could just go to my next slide. What do you think students think about PowerPoint? And since there are no students here, let me just go through. It's often just a copy of the textbook. Or here, diagrams are harder to understand because they're not developed. They're just put there. You don't take the time anymore. Or it's too much information and not enough to generate notes. But there are some positive things students like, and that is it has an outline, and it's not just wildly written on the board. Or even here, you can provide it as a handout. Students don't have to take the notes anymore. I want to first focus on this one here. Diagrams, graphs, and equations are harder to understand. But it's so much easier for us to put it up in a PowerPoint because it looks so much nicer. And this leads me to my research talk. This is what I do in research. And I use this little device here. It's a small high-pressure reactor for the analysis of catalytic reactions. And I'm pretty sure you're smart people. You totally understand what I show you here. This is what happens to the students. This is completely overloaded with information. So why not start with a very simple version? This one here, everybody can understand that this is a high-pressure reactor. It's a cylindrical reactor, almost looks like a pipe bomb. There are some seals here. So what do we do now? Well, in order to make this a reactor in which I can actually measure, and this is an NMR reactor, so I need a coaxial design to have this as a radio frequency resonator. And this is also where I can pressurize it through. And now I can go in all the details that, for example, focus up here. If I use this as a pressure line, I need to actually open this up. That's actually how it is machined. Then I put in an intermediate plate to separate maybe a liquid phase from a gas phase in my catalytic reaction. Then I want to, of course, heat and cool the system. So I have a heater and cooler around it. This is an electrical heater in this case, but I also need a thermocouple because I wanted to control the temperature in here. And then since I'm doing mechanistic studies, kinetic studies, I want to inject key reactants. I do this through a second pressure line. And there is, at this spot here, a tiny ball valve that I need to include so that I don't get the back pressure and presses everything back through this line. And now I have this developed for you, and at least some of you will understand what this complex system will be used for. We lost this when we transferred from chalkboard to PowerPoint because now we have all these nice drawings that we wanted to throw at our audience, but we don't develop them anymore. It's a lot better to use the advantages of developing it. There's a couple more steps. I'm not going to explain this. This is simply an animation that's based on a stack of individual pictures. And of course, you have to all generate those pictures. So if you see here, these are my pictures. They're all put on top of each other. I use them for developing. And usually what you do is you do this drawing first, and then you take away parts as you wanted to develop it backwards. But they're just put on top of each other, and then in an animation, faded over each other. Of course, if this would be a picture that has a white background or so, you need to use transparent color. I want to show you how simple it actually could be to do this. So this looks like there's currently 3 versions of PowerPoint out here. It's the 2003, 2007, and 2010 version. This is the 2007 version, so that's the Windows XP that most of us have. All the features can be found in the newer version, but as Microsoft does this, it puts it in different places, so you have to find them. So let's do an animation. First, let's go to the slide where we wanted to put one on top of the other. Here is the button up here, animation. Now, when you use this in a PowerPoint presentation, you use an animation or an action setting or anything, then what usually happens is that after a while, your cursor is gone. And then you have to go back. And the first you do is you shake it here to get it back. Did you know that a simple right click gives you pointer options, arrow options, make it visible, and it will stay forever? That's what I need. If I go here on the animation, I get a different menu. In this animation, there is here custom animation, and that calls up for the side panel. Who has worked with custom animations? See? Fair amount of us. And then you click on your object here. In this case, this is all my pictures I put on top of each other. It's this one. And then I can go here, change, do entrance, and there's all kinds of options. There's almost too many options because I don't like when pictures are flying in from here, moving up from there, developing from the center, zooming in, and do all the, this is way too much. Use it as needed, not as possible. Because that is too confusing too. But in this case, since I wanted to develop it, very often I use to fade it over the other one. That makes it look like it comes out of the other one. If it's not here, there is more effects. Here is my fade. And after this is included, this is exactly what it does. Here we go. That's what I just did. The one picture goes on top of each other. Correct alignment is, of course, necessary. Otherwise, it wiggles back and forth. So what you should do is have the pictures all the same size and anchor them to a grid. Makes sense. OK. So after this concluding my research talk here, go into another research area to show you that you not only can do this with drawings, simple pictures, photographs can show a lot. This is something I did together with the explosives and rock mechanics department. And we tried to use CO2 and abrasive to cut and drill into, in this case, sandstone. And this is our setup here. And this is where the liquid carbon dioxide is going to come out, and we are intending to drill a hole. Here's a schematic drawing. Now, this was just two pictures on top of each other, but you understand what is happening. Somebody's just turning the valve, and there's a plume of liquid CO2, which then immediately becomes a gas coming out, but it's shooting the abrasive at the rock, and it's also shown here. The next picture, a hole is forming, and I can do another one, and you see this back plume coming out, so the hole is getting deeper, and then finally we turn it off. By just 4 photographs, I've told you the complete story, which would be hard just with some drawings or so, some work. And I put the pictures on top of each other. Of course, when we were taking the pictures, we had a tripod and a camera sitting there. This is so powerful that presentations, even if you don't have the option of taking a video, which becomes easier and easier nowadays, just a couple pictures can tell a good story. Here are my 4 pictures. That's all I did. But let's get back to the typical PowerPoint presentation that we do. If we even in our lecture start with a title, with an outline, or maybe a goal that we wanted to achieve, we just do first slide, second slide, third slide, and so on. We do not involve the students, ask them, what do you want to hear? Or if there's a suggestion from a student, we don't jump ahead and then maybe later on back. Why not? We can do this. After all of this that we talked to, including animations, hyperlinks, or so, why not include hyperlinks to other slides, which in PowerPoint terminology is called action settings. If I have a hyperlink, for example, my outline has 4 items, and every item has a hyperlink to a batch of slides, I'm back to what I used to do with my transparencies. I had packages of transparencies, and I could easily skip one package or focus on one first. I could ask the students, what do you want to deal with first? Concentration, or moles, or mass, density? And students have the feeling they're involved. It's more interactive. So what we want to do is basically have links like this. We're so used to using hyperlinks, the internet or so. For example, we just do this up here and I hope the internet works. It shells out automatically. I can maximize this. Can show you a YouTube video. I can use all the features. And when I stop it, I'm back where I was.
Where was that?
That was considered to be the most dangerous hiking path in the world. Somewhere in the mountain area between Spain and France. If you ever go there, take a video. Gets a lot of YouTube hits. This was just to get your attention back from your cake to the presentation. But there's a lot of scientific YouTube videos or presentations, animations. You could even go and upload some Java applets that support whatever you do in your lecture. You don't have to do it yourself. It's very easy. But what I want to focus on is to use them within your PowerPoint. And so, since I have talked for a while, usually you're supposed to put in a breaking point. Yeah?
How did you go from the video back to this slide? Did you just
I just closed the window, yeah. There is actually programs out there, if you're interested. One is called iSpring Free. It's a free iSpringFree.com. They let you download an add-on to PowerPoint which you can use to include YouTube videos into your PowerPoint. So they're directly shown from your PowerPoint slide. I have used it a couple times, so you don't need to shell out to the internet. However, you have to realize when you do this, you still need to be connected to the internet. The YouTube video is put in a frame in your PowerPoint presentation, but it's still accessed real time.
Wouldn't it just be easier to download the video on YouTube and then embed that?
That's right. And some of the videos, the format doesn't really work with PowerPoint. That's true too. Yeah, if you have megabytes of movie that you want to include. But I know that there's problems with some of the QuickTime movies. I don't know how it works with YouTube videos directly when you download them, because this is so easy. It does everything automatically. I use that one. Okay. Are you still with me? Think this presentation is exciting? Or do you rather think it's boring? Okay, in order to finish our cake and go home, let's try to click boring. Oh. Would you know how to do that? No? I'll show you. And actually, if you want this part of the file for your class, just send me an email. I'll send it to you. It is so simple. People think I'm doing magic here. And sometimes we like our students to feel like this, that we're the ones doing the magic, the edutainment in front. For us, everything that makes students learn more, better, being motivated to learn is okay to do. So this is one that is actually very simple. Do you realize that this is just 2 slides? One slide that looks like this, and another one that looks like this. And I just have a hidden hyperlink that goes from the one to the other, back and forth. When I put my mouse over this field, it automatically goes to the other slide. And when I go to this slide, it automatically links back to the first slide. So my only way out is hitting this one, which I want you to. I know. I still show you how it works. Okay, we have a field here. And if we wanted to have an action setting, which is nothing but a hyperlink to another slide, we of course need to indicate from where the hyperlink goes. That means I click on this here. There's insert. And here's action settings in this area here. But of course, I need to mark my field and then hit action. And then this menu comes up. And the action setting, usually the default is none, because not every object you include has an action setting. But it gives you the choices mouse click or mouse over. And of course, I use the mouse over, because once I hit that field, I want it to go to the other slide. So let's click on mouse over here. And what I want is a hyperlink to the next slide. This is not the only one. I have previous slide, I have first slide, last slide, or I can specify a certain slide. The advantage of this is when I specify a certain slide, if I insert some other slides in between, the link stays. So I don't need to rearrange my entire PowerPoint when I do this. So okay, here I go to the next slide, I hit OK. And as you know now, this is my other slide. See? It's that simple. So why are we not all using things like this? It took me a while to figure this out. Because if you don't know what Microsoft calls hyperlink in their PowerPoint, you will never find it on the internet how to do that. We're so used to just Google things. When you actually go on Google and said use action settings in PowerPoint, you get a bunch of pages that explain this. If you use hyperlinks, they tell you how to shell out to Google, to the internet, but not to other slides. And that's a problem with PowerPoint. And that affords you the cake today, the pie. Okay, so see, here we're back 2 hours. I made exciting, even more exciting. And you want to go back to boring? Okay. Here? Or this way? or click in the middle, all doesn't work. The only way out is this. And since I asked you to vote, well, I will continue. So, but on a more serious note, let's just check into learning process. Creating truly interactive. Because even action settings are preset. And yes, I can do interactive linking out to other slides. I can do a lot more. So let's go back to our toddler years, or maybe the toddler years of our children, when interactive play was a great learning experience, and it was also very enjoyable. And the example I'm going to take today is a Lift the Flap activity book here. My youngest child is now out of the age where they use the Lift the Flap books, so I could just take it and they wouldn't notice anyway. So the learning experience is the curiosity, what's behind there. And so, well, let's just click on one of the flaps and open it. And now it's up to you to say, what do you want to open next? I don't hear anything, so I'll do it for you. The firefighter here, it's always interesting. How about ice cream? See? I called it the Go Again ice cream place because I would go again over and over. Very interesting that people are standing in the middle of the street when they're getting their ice cream. And then maybe we wonder what's up here. Oh yeah. So this does not depend on my decision anymore. It depends on yours. Which you might not believe because I didn't even give you a chance to say anything, but you didn't want to say anything. I will show you that this is actually truly interactive. So I need a bunch of slides for this. The first slide I have is when all the flaps are closed. I had 4 flaps, remember? There was the baker, there was the fireman, there was the ice cream stand, and then there was the animal doctor. My first slide, they're all closed. Then, of course, I need 4 slides if it's truly interactive. And Don Wunsch, he has, is looking at me and nodding because he already does the full calculation. How many slides do you need in total? I can see that. Well, I need 4 for one. And the 1, 2, 3, 4 means that in this one, flap 1 is open, in this one, flap 2 is open, flap 3, and flap 4. And these lines are actually action settings. When I click on that flap, it opens up. The next slide. Now I have a dilemma because after I opened 1, there are still 3 possibilities left. So I need 3 more slides, which is 1, 2 is open when from here I click on flap number 2. 1, 3 is open, or 1, 4. And this is the point where most of us would give up and say, no, this is getting too complicated. No. Starting with slide 2, I also need 3, but fortunately I have 1 already. Because where flap 2 and 1 is open, it doesn't matter if you open 2 first or 1 first. The 2 flaps are open. So maybe we can do something about that. We still need 2 more. If you go on, you have 2 already, and you need 1 more. And then for this, you have them all. There's a bunch of action settings. Every line is an action setting or hyperlink.
That's a straight A right there.
Okay. So then, now we open the 3rd flap. And of course, if we start from 1, 2, we need 2 more because we only have 2 possibilities left. From 1, 3, we need these. And when you do the full picture, we realize we only need 4 more slides. It's not exponentially growing. because after 2 are open, the choices are limited. And actually, the last slide where we open all of them, well, is only 1 slide. All flaps are open. So this full interactive thing we can do with 16 slides and 32 action settings.
How long does it take? Just statistical. How long does it take to set it all?
To generate those?
Yes.
Oh, I have a lot of fun with this. And yeah, you can make it more and more complex. Doing something like this, I hope you're not scanning in, flip, or open the flap book and do those, but maybe you just have some lines or so written text where you click on, then I would think you can do this within an hour. Yeah.
So if the students are printing out your slides to take notes on, do they now have 16 slides?
No. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. How do I do my handouts? This is what you're basically asking. For all of my PowerPoint presentations, I have an animated presentation and I have a handout presentation. Of course, I eliminate most of the slides that are not used. In this case, I would probably only show the first one and the last one, and everything in between will go, because they cannot interactively work with this when they have it as a printout. That happens in class. The only thing they need to know is we started here, we ended up there. So all of these center slides I would just eliminate. But I would also eliminate other animations. For example, if you have that drawing that I had, where all they're on top of each other, I would make sure that only the full drawing is on the handout. Yeah?
When you were, the pages were turning, it was very classy, and they were foreshortened, and they go across. Very nice. How long did that take you to learn? And number 2, let's say you have an instructor or faculty member who doesn't want to go through whatever the answer to that is, and then it's either open or close, not
Yeah.
that nice flip over. Do you have any feeling if the students will be expecting that wonderful finesse and gloss of a turning page as opposed to a flop? Is that covered?
This is an example with these flaps. Go back to one of my first slides where I asked you to indicate what you like about PowerPoint. It was just fields that were disappearing. That's fairly simple. Yes, I agree. I put a lot of effort in. And how long did it take me? I would have to think back when I did my first PowerPoint presentation. Because I was one of those who said, why are you using PowerPoint? Because it is a step backwards. Why do we have to use PowerPoint for our presentations? I don't like it. Exactly for those reasons. It's overloaded, it's too much, it's not interactive. I like the transparencies a lot better, but nobody's using them anymore. So let's not step back in our educational experience. So that's probably 10, 15 years. And working with it develops those skills. Well, I wish you have a faster learning curve than I do. Okay, so here we go. Now, I'll leave it now completely up to you. You pick. What should I open first?
Ice cream.
Okay, here's ice cream. Next? Animal doctor. Next one? Fireman. And next one? Of course, there's only one left. So you decide. It's not me anymore. Yeah?
How do you figure out where to put your flipping? I mean, how does that look? The first slide, the second slide, the third slide. How do you set that up? Do you
It's
just make it like
intelligent scanning of this. And there's a little more involved. This is for the show effect today.
Okay.
There is more in this slide than I just told you. of
Because
course.
I use a lot of maps in my history classes.
Yeah.
That's how I get students interactive. Here starts the wagon train. Where do they go for the next day? Where do they go the following day when they go
Wonderful.
out west?
I'm going to get to an example with a map pretty
Okay.
soon. Yeah, and you'll see, because I would recommend that you use another feature.
Oh, okay.
Did you realize why I call this the Go Again ice cream store? Because when I click here, we go back. It's an action setting to this part. And we can do it over again so that you truly believe that this is interactive. Now pick a different sequence.
Class, can you close the flap?
Can I close the Oh. Have you seen the presentation already?
I want to get to the maps and so on.
Okay, look here. Anything you pick works. But how did I do this go again here? Because that is part of the scan picture. How can you make some where you scan, and in your map this would be important, that where you have a drawing, how can you make this the part of a link? Because you would have to cut it out, or you would have to put something over it or so, but then you would see it. And if you put it in the background, it's not seen by PowerPoint. I have puzzled about this for a while. If you put an object over it, so, oh, I did it again here. Let's go to the next one. Here. You would have to put an object, an invisible object, on top of this field. But how do you make it invisible? If you take an ellipse that you put over it and make no line and no fill, which you could do, well, you cannot click it anymore. It's basically not there. That bothered me for a while, but I found the solution. So let's actually insert a shape here, an oval, and let's do it here. Now it's too visible. We do the format. It's a right click on the object. Format the object. And instead of just doing no fill, there is the option of the transparency. Make it 100% transparent, but it still is filled. And it's an object that can be seen by your cursor. Then, of course, you need to eliminate the line, close it. Now you don't see it anymore, but it is still there. That's how you do invisible links, which is very important. Almost all of my presentations have invisible links. One, everybody after this presentation should do. Okay. So now we get to an actual application that I do in my class. Actually, something I published when the American Chemical Society had their National Chemistry Week under the motto, "It's elemental," and it was all about periodic table. This is my activity. I have done this in middle schools, high schools, outreach activities. You just match element symbols with state abbreviations. I usually show you how it works with one example. The easiest, which is Missouri, MO, is also molybdenum. Now, by just clicking at Missouri here, you get this result, molybdenum. And now I can explain something about elements and so on. Clicking on it again gives you the typical symbol here. So I give you some choices. Pick one. California. Okay. Here we go. This is very loud. So California, calcium. And now, if I forget to click on this one here, and you pick another one, let's say Nebraska, which would be neon, I can still go back and click there and click here.
Texas.
Texas? As a chemist, of course, you know that doesn't work, so you wanted to see what happens if I click something that doesn't work. Okay. The most common mistakes are Florida. People think it's fluorine, but it's not. It's just F, and so on. It's a fun activity, but it makes students browse the periodic table. Just look at it and try to find something. And it is done in 5 minutes. Now, let's go and do some more math. With the lift the flap page, 4 fully interactive, we had, and now you probably agree, 2 to the 4th flaps is what we need. Matching elements, 15 states work. 2 to the 15 slides is what we need. 32,706. That's why this was so long. No. At this point, I usually tell them I started with the action settings. And after 102 slides, I thought I should do the math first. And then realized that this is ridiculous. You cannot do it that way. And it bothered me for years because I couldn't find what we have just done. Because as you saw, it was fully interactive. So it is possible. There is a higher level of this, which you can use for even more complex ones. But it took me 2 years to find it. I found it by talking to a high school teacher who told me the same problem, that he was looking for this for years. And it's actually fairly simple. Okay. Now we go to what Ronaldo wanted. You open it, you close it. You open it, you close it. You can actually do it at the same time. Oops. Okay. What I wanted to do now, set up something that uses what's called in PowerPoint triggers. And that buzzword triggers took me 2 years to find in order to get the instructions. So what I wanted to do is take this square here and just make it rotate. But not only once in my sequence of animations, I wanted to do this as often as I click it. And when I decided I had enough, I just go on. How do I do this? Well, I'm in animations. I click on this, and I add an effect. Now this time, it's not an entrance or exit effect. It's what they call an emphasis. And in the emphasis, there's also a menu. There's a lot you can do. And here's spin. And that's basically it, what I have to do in order to have this as part of my regular PowerPoint sequence. If I now hit the space button, it turns it once. If I hit the space button again, it goes to the next slide. Because that was how I set it up, as part of my animation. Now, back to this one here. We had this rectangle, and we had put spin on there. There is, when you click here, all these options, and one is timing. And under timing, I would not expect what I want to find here. If I open this up, you can set it up how fast it goes, if it spins fast or slow, or if it's delayed in time, all these features. And there is this button down here that says triggers, and I never paid attention to that. If I do triggers here, the default again is trigger this as part of my regular sequence, just what I did. But if you get to the other one, start the effect with click on, you get all objects that are currently on your slide to pick. So what I have here, the first one is this text box. The second one, rectangle 3, is actually what I put here. And this one is this task text box. And by click on any of this, I can animate the other part. So of course, I want to do this, that by clicking on the rectangle, I want it to spin, just like this. And I do OK. When I go back, now, as often as I want, this rotates. Whenever I click, and you see that the hand comes up here. You also see that it stays a hand here, because of course I have something hidden when you miss it. The hand stays on when I do this on this sequence. When I do, all of a sudden the picture's flying across. That was me, by the way. Want to see it again? I can even, clicking on a flying object, trigger something else. Here, if I hit it, it gives this sound. If I miss it, it gives another sound. There's a lot of things you can do if you understand how PowerPoint works. And this makes a fully interactive presentation. So, and of course, I want to show you one last thing. Whoa, this is slow. Let me try to go all the way to the end. Hopefully that doesn't do it. Slide sorter, does it do it here? Of course, I wanted to show you even more. I want to show you how to use clickers. And I'm running out of time here. No, actually, I put a lot of useless slides in the end from another talk because I wanted to run out of time, because it happens to us so often. And what we do then is, oh, this is all that I wanted to show you, but let me just, and more and more and more. Most of you know this presentation. We don't have to do this. Every one of my slides has a hidden action setting. I marked it here, actually, down there, which is a link to my summary slide. I would not need to show you all of this. I could just go there and say, okay, let's summarize. Students perceive PowerPoint presentation often as boring, overloaded, and they don't follow. But what we can do is animations, action settings, and use of triggers, as I showed you before. And I have a lot more examples that I actually use in class where I use triggers or action settings and make it more interactive. And then, oh no, I didn't show that part. So why do I even present it? I can just, as summary, stop here, and another action setting down here brings me to my very last slide. And I hope you learned something, that our presentations do not need to be a step back from when we had transparencies, when we could put transparencies on top of each other to show both parts or so. No, if we use it right, PowerPoint has all the features we need. Thank you very much.